We're here at the Maxon booth at NAB NYC 2023, showcasing the latest with Maxon 1. We have amazing artists with you all of day 2, starting off with Anthony Barr Jr. on our way to the one, the only. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause for the Matt Milstead.
Yay! Hi, everybody. I didn't have a whole bunch of time to prepare a presentation last night, so let's just steal like an artist, you know, an original concept designed by Matt Milstead. All right, I am Matt Milstead. I work at Independent Contractor. No, I'm just kidding. I prepared something. I'm not that lame. Hi, everybody. I am Matt Milstead. You can find me at mattmilstead.com. I am available for independent contractor and freelance opportunities starting November 17th after the DAT tour is over. Wow, okay, there we go. Yeah. You may know me from such films as the Mograph podcast. Me and a couple of partners, we run mograph.com. You can find podcasts, classes, tutorials, and lots of networking because we've got a Slack channel and we've got a Discord channel, and we like to hang out with people all day on Discord, and it's a lot of fun. Coming up at the end of the year, around the end of the year, we'll see. We're also launching a new social site for artists where you can post your portfolio, you can follow different artists. You also have an activity feed where you can post work that's going on. You can find meetup groups. You can start a meetup group, and then within that meetup group, you can have discussions or create events. You can also sell digital goods, find jobs, all sorts of stuff. That's launching hopefully at the end of the year. We've been working on it for a really long time. So, yeah, that's mograph.com. Or maybe you know me from Camp Mograph. We do a lot of stuff. I do a lot of stuff, but I am also a freelance independent contractor. So Camp Mograph, we just had our last one in Denver a few weeks ago, which was super awesome. That was our 4th year. Next year, we're super excited. We're coming to Australia, June 27th through the 30th. We're also doing a U.S. location as well. So 2 camps next year, both in the U.S. and in Australia. Super excited about it. You can sign up at campmograph.com to find more information about it or to get updated on when ticket sales are going to go on sale for Australia. Or maybe you've seen me at the DAT tour. I'm apparently an event coordinator. So we've been running the design and animation tour for the past, this whole year. Super excited that we're going to Europe next week. So if you're in London or Barcelona, Berlin, Paris, or even Miami in the U.S., we're going to be hitting up those 5 dates throughout the end of the year. Go to gotodat.com. So, hey, guess what? I'm not just an event coordinator. I'm also a freelance motion designer. After Effects, Cinema 4D, Unreal Engine, Redshift, Octane, Arnold, V-Ray, all the things, X-Particles, modeling, all that stuff that you are required to do in order to be a successful freelance motion designer. That's what I do. So, let me show you my demo reel. That'll take up some time. I know. Yep. Woo! I love punk rock and I love time travel, so I put them together in my demo reel. Let's see, what else? What else do I got? This year, let's do a year in review in Matt Milstead's life. What all have I done except for events? Started off, this was a personal project that I did. I am really big into retro gaming. I love retro gaming. I'm actually designing a NES game right now that will play on the original NES. I really love the Metroid series, so I wanted to recreate the Super Metroid opening sequence in Cinema 4D and Octane. So I went ahead and did that, and then I posted it up on the Metroid subreddit like, hey guys, I think I found a leak. Maybe something's cool coming out. Which is funny because like 2 weeks later they re-released Metroid Prime on the Switch, which was pretty cool. What else have I done? Oh yeah, so I worked with an awesome company called Secret Powers on a Hulu opening title sequence for some podcast turned TV show on Hulu called Betrayal: The Perfect Husband. Ooh. And then I also had a chance to work with a really cool company on creating a Unreal Engine virtual walkthrough for their new Escalade, their electric Escalade. Super cool stuff. So all the environment stuff was built in Cinema 4D and then brought into Unreal Engine, and we created the entire environment and all the foliage and everything. So if you were to go online and sign up for a virtual walkthrough, that is all our work, which is pretty cool. First real foray into Unreal Engine, and it's not as easy as Cinema, y'all. Don't listen to Winbush. He'll tell you it's easy, but it's not as easy as like creating super photorealistic stuff in like say Octane or Redshift. But one of my favorite projects that I worked on this year was with a company out in San Francisco called I Believe in Swordfish. Big shout out to Eddie Catt and Matt Silverman and Fred Lewis and Anthony Abbott and all the people who work over at Swordfish. They are a fantastic studio to work in. A lot of creativity, a lot of good stuff coming out of there. But this project that we did was for the MSC Europa and Eurybia, 2 different cruise ships. And on the ceiling, they've got these just gigantic LED screens. And so we were creating content for this. And this is just kind of a preview of some of the stuff that the whole team created. It was a massive undertaking to be able to create as much content as we did for them, and it was I think it turned out beautifully. I mean, seeing that whale swim by is just absolutely cool. But we did a whole bunch of different types of work. There was abstract. This is just kind of some of the examples of what the whole team did. We had nature ones, we had abstract, we had architectural type stuff, and it was just a massive undertaking. And so that one was for the Europa. Another one that we worked on was the sister ship called the Eurybia. And so this was one of the pieces that I worked on, minus the architectural stuff covering it up. We created these really cool transitions so that we could transition between some of the pieces. But you can see it's basically like a football field length LED wall on a ceiling. And it was so cool. So the concept for this was for us to create these mosaic tile type animations. And instead of just doing a mosaic tile and just leaving it up there, we wanted to create motion and kind of have it move throughout, which was really, really cool. So I'll show y'all. These were some of the concepts. I had Midjourney come up with some of the concepts for what we kind of wanted to do. And we landed on this one as far as like the swoops and the swishes and stuff like that. So super talented artist over at Swordfish created this as the template for us to use for this specific piece. And then I went in and I took this piece and I animated the entire thing. And you can kind of see you get veins of these animating mosaic tiles and stuff like that. And so that's kind of what we're going to recreate today. I came up with a really cool technique that I like that makes it feel super organic. And yeah, let's go ahead and C4D time. Let's jump into C4D. Open up C4D. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is I'm going to start with basically a background that I can work with. For those who are curious about what the process is, we're basically going to take a plane, we're going to fracture it, and we're going to use a matrix object in order to drive where those fractures are, and then offset along a spline those matrix objects, and then that becomes the moving, tiles and stuff. So for everyone who understood that and like was following me, I saw a bunch of shaking heads in here. You're like, okay, cool. I can walk away. I can go check out what else is going on. So for those who don't know, here we go. Let's jump into it. So let's start with a plane, and then I'm going to bring in a texture. I'm going to throw that onto the plane, and in this texture, I'm going to go into my node editor, move these things a little bit, and then hit C and type in texture. I'm just using this as a reference to the background. Now, I'm not going to bring in that full background. I'm just going to do a section of it right now. Ooh. And then I need to see what the size is. I think it was like 37, 44, 16, 22. So I do 37, 44, 16, 22. So I'll do that. I'll scale it up, or I'll put it at that size so I know it's the correct ratio, and then I'll just bring it down. So then I know the size is actually the correct ratio. So here's the background that we're working with. I'm going to go into my viewport, and I'm going to change this to 1024 by 1024. That way I get a better view of it. And on the base properties, I'm going to turn down the weight on the reflection so it's just a solid color. Now, a lot of this I was doing from a top view. So I'm going to be working a lot of this project into a top view instead of my perspective. So with this, let's go into our display, and I'm going to hit Garage Shading. This has happened, I've noticed, with the new version of Cinema. Sometimes you just got to do that, and then it shows back up. So I don't know what the technical term for that is. Let's ask Rick Barrett. So, okay, so now we've got our spline. What we're going to do is we're going to outline all these little swoopy things and create basically a shape that is going to kind of contain all of our stuff. So I'm going to, bear with me. Oh, nope. I remembered one thing I got to do. So let's move this plane down. Since we're in the top view, it doesn't matter. We're going to move this down 10 centimeters so that I can actually see what splines I'm building. And an important thing whenever you're using this concept is to make sure that your splines go slightly outside of the stuff that you are wanting to animate. So bear with me while I create a bunch of splines. I was like, hey, how can I fill up some time on my presentation? I was like, you know what? I can make everyone watch me create splines. That would be really fun. So what's cool about this technique as well is that, like, you can see here, I'm doing like a branching off. And you'll be able to create multiple branches, all from multiple matrix objects and stuff. So let's do this one, and then I'm going to get crazy, and I'm going to, oh, no, we got to create the swoopy on the inside, but let's fix this one because I don't like this one. Boop-a-doo-doo-doo. There we go. And now I'm going to create a thing on the inside as well in that same spline. It doesn't matter if I'm slightly off because this picture is just for reference. All right, cool. Now we're going to do another spline, and we're going to create this one. Yay, wasting more time drawing splines. How y'all doing? You enjoying all the presentations so far? I know I have. There we go, and then there. Okay, so we've got two different types of shapes in our splines, and these are going to be the ones that we're basing our kind of veins and our mosaic tiles on. So I'm going to call this shape 1, and then I'm going to call this one shape 2. So within these, now we've got to create the paths that our matrix objects is going to go through. So a very important thing about this is when dealing with fractures and trying to keep the colors from flickering, what you want to do is you want to make sure that your path is outside of that shape that you made earlier. So with this, I'm just going to go through, and then I'm going to create a path that all of our matrices, matrix objects can go. And so you see I went slightly outside of it right there. And then I'm going to create another path as well. Make sure that goes outside of it as well. This one may be just a little too close, and then we'll do one more path. And they can be rough. And then let's go here. Here. There we go. I don't like the way that one goes there. We'll take that. I'm going to delete that one. There we go. All right, cool. Now let's do this. We'll call this path 1. We'll call this path 2. And then we'll call this path 3. Okay. So we have our shapes. We have our paths. Now let's go ahead and create a, nope, Shift-C, not space. We're going to create a matrix object. And on this matrix object, what we're going to do is we're going to change from grid to object, and then we're going to throw path 1 into the object. Now you see it creates all these individual points. We're going to go even, and then let's jack this up to maybe like 150. Maybe let's go a little bit less. 135? No? 120? A little bit more. 135. We'll go back to 135. Okay. So we've got that there, and then I'm going to duplicate this, and then I'm going to put this on path 2, and then I'm going to do one more, and I'm going to put this on path 3. So we have 3 different paths and 3 different matrix objects that we're going to use for our fracture. Now matrix 1 I know is going to have, we'll probably need a little bit less on that one, maybe like, we'll say 50. Let's do 65. And then this third one, let's bring that down to maybe 100. I know these numbers because I've done this presentation once or twice in my hotel room by myself. Okay, so within this matrix object, what we're going to do is we're going to change the offset so you can see these individual matrices. Each little point is actually moving. So we're going to keyframe these. Let me throw this up to 2,000 frames. There we go. Not 20,000, 2,000. And we're going to do keyframe here, and then I'm going to go to about 1,000. And we're going to keyframe this again to 100%. There we go. And then I'm going to open up my dope sheet, and I know because the first one and the third one are actually longer than the first one. I'm going to double the amount of time that it takes. So I'm going to throw these at 2,000. So then, matrix 1, the shortest one, I want it to loop. So a cool thing is when you're in Cinema 4D, if you're in your dope sheet and you create an animation and you want it to loop, you can just click on it, and after, you can just have it repeat. So now you don't have to create multiple keyframes, and it'll continue looping all the way through the 2,000 frames. All right, so we've got that. Now let's go ahead and create a plane. And a plane is going to be the thing that we're fracturing and we're turning into our own individual little, the tiles and stuff. So the most important thing about this plane is that you want, man, I do this every time where I'm still on the spline. All right. The most important thing about this plane is you want it to be much, much bigger than everything. All the paths, all the cutouts, everything, because you'll see as soon as I throw this into a fracture object, go to Voroni Fracture and I throw that plane in there. Let me also point out another really important thing on this is this plane, you want to have basically 1 by 1, 1 height and 1 width. Because what we're going to do is we're going to put it into a Mo extrude, which will extrude the individual tiles. And then we're going to throw like a rounded corner node on top of it on our texture. If you have additional segments within this Voroni fracture, when you put the Mo extrude on there, it's going to somehow see all those extra cuts and stuff like that and try and do rounded corner nodes around that. So the 1 by 1 is super important. So within this Voroni fracture, what we're going to do is we're going to take these sources and we're going to delete the original source. So, and then we're going to throw this matrix in there, and you can see now just with this first matrix, as it plays, we get the really cool tile movements and stuff like that. Let me go ahead. I forgot to change all of my keyframes to linear. So now it doesn't slow down and smooth. So now you can see over here, we're getting some flickering. But that's why we wanted to make sure that our path was outside of the main thing that's going to be shown, because this will flicker and you'll see it flickering if it's on the inside. If it's outside of it, you won't see that at all. So we're our Voroni Fracture, we've got our first matrix, then we're going to throw our second matrix in there as well. I'm not going to worry about the third one because the third one is a separate thing. So we're going to take this a duplicate of the Voroni Fracture and for the third one. Okay, so we've got these two matrix objects. I'm going to turn off this one for now, this third one. And within this matrix, we're going to make it a little less uniform. So we're going to go into our Mograph, our random effector, and we are going to change the parameters. And you want to be very subtle with this. So I'm going to go like 5 and 5, and I want my Y to be 0. So now you can see they look slightly different. They don't look so uniform. They're a little bit more organic of a shape. So now that we've got that in our Voroni, we can go into our object and we can offset the fragments. So if we do like 0.9, I'm going to turn off this background. You can see we get the really cool little tiling effect, and it doesn't matter about these, like I said, because even though they're flickering, you won't see those in the final object. So yeah, what's next? I take a drink of soda and then we continue on. Okay, so let's look at getting the randomness of the tiles. So if you wanted just one flat color, you could totally do that. But what I wanted to do was kind of like a different shading, slightly different shading for each and every tile. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new material. And in our node editor, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to create a new node, and that is a color user data. And then we're going to create a ramp. So the color user data, what it's going to do is it's going to read the user data from an effector. And then it's going to plug that into the ramp, and then the ramp is going to randomly change the color of it based off of what these colors are. So it'll pick any point in the ramp and it'll change it automatically. So let's go for like a yellow, and we'll go for like a blue, and then we'll plug that into the color right there. Now, when we throw this on, nothing's going to happen yet because we haven't put our effector on here yet. So in our Voroni Fracture, let's go into Mograph Effector Plane. And in our plane effector, we'll turn off position, we'll turn off rotation, we'll turn off scale. The only thing we want to deal with is the fields. Within the fields, not a linear field, we want to do a random field. And now this little button right here, when you click it on, that affects the color. So now we're affecting only the color of this. And then the material should now read that randomness of the color. Let's see if that happened. In our Voroni Fracture, let's turn off colorize fragments. And you can see right now we are just getting one flat color. Why is that? Let's see. Go back into here, node editor, color user data. Ha! That's why. In our presets, I didn't set it correctly. So in our presets, Mograph, we want to do color. And now you can see it picks a random color for each and every tile. So now there is a caveat with this, because what we're going to do, if you were working in standard renderer, you could bool this Voroni Fracture, and it would work fine. It would retain the color data. But because we're working in Redshift, for some reason, it doesn't retain the color data anytime we bool it. So we've got to do a workaround for this, which kind of stinks. But looking at you, Maxon, come on, let's get that fixed. I can show y'all how we're going to do that. So, for example, let me just show y'all what I was talking about. I'm going to throw this first shape into an extrude. Nope. How to top view. Let's go into perspective view. And then we'll move this up. And then we'll go into our Voroni Fracture. We will take a bool and we'll throw those in there. I'll switch the places because I always can't remember what they are. Let's turn off our matrix 1 and our matrix 2 that we can see. Whoops. What's going on here? Shape 1, shape 2, bool, subtract, Is it because our... No, that's there. All right. Voroni Fracture. It's probably because I turned off these or something. Y'all like the giant size of my my mouse? It makes it really hard to see stuff. All right, so let's go back and do our Voroni Fracture. Let's turn off the extrude. See where'd all that stuff go. Matrix 1. There we go. Matrix 2. And we're back. All right. Don't know why that happened. Let's see if we can get back in there. Bool. A intersect B. Hey, look, it's the exact same thing I was doing earlier. Okay, so as you can see here, it shows up all the different colors correctly. But if I open up Redshift, you'll see, unfortunately, Redshift doesn't retain that color data. So what we've got to kind of do here is a workaround in order to be able to cut this out. Redshift doesn't have the same thing that like Octane does, where it's like a post bool material or something like that, which would retain the color data. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of do a hacky way of getting this done. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go in this Voroni Fracture. I'm going to go back to 0. I want to hide these real quick. Geez, why is that doing that? Here we go. All right, I'll just leave it like that. Okay, so we're going to set up a camera, and we're going to basically render out a still image of how it's cut out and use that as a transparency within our material. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set up a Redshift camera, and I'm going to get this set in the position that I want. And let's see, let's lock the ratio. I'm going to do 1920 by 1080, so it's actually a little bit higher resolution. And in this, I'm going to go PNG, alpha channel, turn off multipass in here. And I'm just going to call this, I'll call this alpha mask 02. And then let's just go ahead and render out that single frame. Yeah, GPU has a lot of VRAM. That's exciting. All right. Now, an important thing while that's rendering with this Redshift camera, we don't want it to move at all. Otherwise, it's going to mess up what we're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and throw a protection tag on there. So now that that's rendered out, we can go into our material, into our node editor. We can see and hit texture. And then we can hit C again, and we can type in splitter. I wish we didn't have to go through this one extra step of the splitter. I think it's, I don't love that, but that's just me. So we're going to pull this alpha mask 02 into there. We're going to split out the alpha. We put that into the opacity. And then now if we were to take this out, you'll see when we go into Redshift, and let me turn off this bool and everything, and we hit play, it now retains the color data. But let's go back into our object and bring back in the offset. So now you can see, if I come out of my Redshift camera, it retains all the color data, and we've got that there. So that was kind of a hacky way of us having to be able to bool it, because bools were also throwing things off as far as like, you know, high quality versus low quality. And when you add that in Mo Extrude, you'd get some weirdness with it. Now you're probably asking me, well, why don't you just use the new thicken generator in there? You lose the color data in there as well. So really, this is the best way in order to cut out all this stuff. So, all right, so we've got that. Let's create our other Voroni Fracture, and we'll grab our spot up here, and we'll just go ahead and do that real quick. Our Voroni Fracture 2 is going to, our sources is going to be this Matrix 2. Matrix 1 is turned off. Matrix 2, let's turn off this Voroni Fracture. Okay, cool. And then it's got the random color on it. Let's do another texture, and I'll throw that on there. And this color we're going to do slightly different. Let's do like a pink and a blue. I like that. Yeah, it looks weird right now. I know. There we go. Just had to refresh that. Let's turn off there. Now you can see all the different colors. And then let's go ahead and bool this one as well so that we've got that shape. Let's go ahead and replace these, put the Voroni Fracture 2 in there. We'll turn that off, and then we've got, should have our shape. Oh, that's right, because our extrude is not high enough. Where is it? Nope, right here. There we go. It's so much fun turning on and off things. All right, so there we go. Let's go back into our camera, and then we're going to save this one out as mask 3. And we'll render that out. Shouldn't take too long. All right, great job. Great job, Redshift. Okay, so it didn't save that out. Let's do it again. Yes, let's overwrite. All right, let's try turning off. I think I know why it's doing it. So let's turn off that plane and do that. Yes. Nope. Okay. Want to stop it? Yes, I do. Let's do, let's see, let's turn this off. See if we can get it. Let's open up our Redshift render view and find out what's going on. Yeah, see, I don't know why it's showing up just that. To-do. All right, well, we'll just skip that second one. An important thing to keep in mind, I guess, since we're skipping the second one, if you've got two planes on top of each other and you've got multiple things going through, you're going to want to offset the planes just a little bit because we're using the transparency, the opacity in that channel, they're going to be competing with each other. So if you put them just like 0.1 below the other one, you'll be fine from there. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this entire second group since it was being funky on me. And we'll turn on this Voroni Fracture. We'll get back there. We'll go to Redshift, render view, and make sure we're still good there. There we go. All right. So we got all of our color data. We're going to throw this Voroni Fracture into a null, and we're going to call this one the extrude. So what we're going to do is in our Mograph, we're going to go into Extrude, and we're going to throw that in there. Now, we get more funkiness. Isn't that exciting? So I do know how to fix this one. So within our Extrude, we're going to do extrusion steps. We're just going to do 1. And then in our transform, we're going to make the cells about 2 centimeters thick, and we're not going to change the scale of it. So because we're using the Extrude on this, so this is more workarounds you got to do. It messes up the way the texture is with the transparency. So here we go. This is fun. We're going to go into camera mapping. We're going to throw our Redshift camera in there. We're going to do 16:9, and now we're back, baby. So when I come out of that camera, you can see we've actually got some thickness on it. So, and as you can see, everything moves, and it moves beautifully. And the only flickers we worry about are the ones at the end, and we don't even need to worry about those because those are outside of our area. What else was I going to do? Okay, so, oh man, I got so much time. Maybe we can have some fun. Yeah, Matthias, I spoke too fast. I was really excited. All amped up on Monster Energy drink. So, one thing we can do is we can add a curvature node, or a rounded corner node. I believe the rounded corner node goes into a bump map. Is that correct? Bump map? Yeah, shaking your head. Cool. So we'll go into a bump map. We'll throw that in there, throw in the texture, throw that into our bump map. That is the correct one that we're working with. Let's go into Redshift, our render view. And let's see. Yeah, we're getting some nice little rounded corners, I believe. Maybe. Let's do our rounded corner node. Let's do maybe 2. See if we're getting anything. Let's throw some light in there so that we can actually see if something's happening. I'm going to go into my lights. I'm going to do a dome light. Within my dome light. You like how that does that? Don't worry, that goes away. See? Told you. Let's see. Let's do an extension. I'm going to do an HDRI link just because this is quick and easy. And then in our texture, I'm going to throw that in there. And now you can see, are we getting any roundness on the corners? 222. I don't see anything. Y'all see anything? Roundness on the corners? Let's jack it up. Let's jack it up and see if that happens. 10. Let's go with 10. Baby? Is anything happening? Do y'all see anything? I don't see anything happening. What am I doing wrong on the rounded corner node? Just throw that directly in there. Ha! There we go. I didn't need that bump map. There we go. That's what I thought. All right, cool. So now we got some rounded corners after the fact, and you can see we get those sweet little highlights around the edges along with our tiles. So one thing I want to show y'all, what I was talking about earlier, that if you, in your Voroni Fracture, in your Mo Extrude, if we were to add, like, say, 20 by 20, notice in here, we now get this straight line. That's why it's super important that your plane is actually 1 by 1 instead of breaking it up into multiple things, because for some reason, when you add the Mo Extrude and you add the rounded corner nodes, it reads all that data. So 1 by 1. And then I can show you all another thing that I did on the project. So let's go back to Keynote. And let's look at it. And I could actually, I wasn't planning on doing this, but, you know, I'm running short. So I got 15 minutes. So you can see, you know, we've also got some other stuff that's going on in here. If I play it quickly, you can see we get like this shimmer along all of the different tiles and stuff, the ones that aren't actually moving. That one was done in After Effects. So let's bring this into After Effects and I'll show you all how I accomplished that. See, Matthias, I can riff. I can riff for 15 minutes, right? Open in After Effects. Open in After Effects. Another thing that y'all could do if you don't want to go through all the pain of, you know, rendering out a still image and then using that as a transparency map. If you're just doing a few little swoops or something like that, you could always render it out full and then do a Luma matte or an object buffer inside of After Effects. That's always a possibility as well. I just knew I didn't want to render out multiple passes because we had so much that we had to do. Wow, After Effects, you're taking a while, baby. Like, yeah, come on, Matt. There we go. All right, cool. So let me open up that background and I'll show y'all what I did in order to create some of the cool mosaic tile stuff. Mosaic C4D. Let's grab this background. Cancel, and we'll just go ahead and throw this into a background. So what I did was we took our piece and the pieces that weren't actually animating, I would go through and I would cut those out, or I'd have an object buffer for them, because we did actually build those tiles in Cinema as well. We just built it as one flat color. So I would take those and I'd throw an adjustment layer in there. Now, keep in mind, I haven't done this in a while, so I could be doing this wrong. Let's see. Y'all know Colorama? Yeah, I love Colorama. Okay, so I would duplicate the background. Let's see. I believe I would do a grayscale. Matthias is like, I'm grabbing the hook. And then we would do, let me see if this is correct. Okay, so we've got a black and white version of it, and then we would throw Colorama on top of it. And you could see in the input phase, I believe it's the input phase, let's go with, is it lightness? No. Intensity? Output cycle? There we go. we want ramp gray. There we go. So now you can see in this, we can actually phase shift the colors and stuff like that. Now let me just create some random black and white values all throughout. And you'll see, do this, do one here, this black, this white, do that. And so now when we change it, you get this cool like little rotating type things, and you can set that to loop, which is really neat. So here, what I do is I keyframe the phase shift and then just let it go, and then add a mode, like we'd screen, maybe not screen, screen's terrible, but you'd see, then we get this cool little undulating, you know, neat little color stuff. And I could bring down that to be like, say, 25%, so it's not so obvious. And you can see, and it was all about subtlety with the cruise ships. We didn't want, when you're on a cruise ship, people are dizzy enough, you know, because of the moving boat and stuff. So we wanted to make sure we weren't going to make anyone sick with how fast everything was moving. Because you can imagine someone's walking by and just sees it, falls right over, you know. So yeah, I'm about 9 minutes short, but I think that's okay, you know. Oh yeah, I do. Thanks. Yeah, I can riff on this for a while. I am Matt Milstead. Here, let's hit play. So we got full screen. Yeah, Matt Milstead. I am a freelance motion designer. I am available. My end of the dad tour ends on November 15th. So I am available November 17th on for the rest of my life. If you would like to book me, please email me at matt@mattmilstead.com and enjoy that QR code, everybody.
QR code is where it's at, folks. Let's give a big round of applause for Matt Milstead.
I can't hear your mic. Hopefully they can hear you online.
Someone can hear me. Kind of. There we go. You can kind of hear me now. Sure. All right. So any questions for Matt on this project or anything that he showcased or anything in general? Yeah.
Does the what?
The question was, does the spline type matter?
Spline type, I don't think matters. You can use whatever spline type you want. It's all dependent on the motion, I guess, that you would want to create. So if you're doing linear, if you want them to move linearly, sure, go for linear. If you want it to be Bezier, go for it. Yeah. It's all about the fracture will, the tile movement will happen based off of the movement of the matrix objects or whatever you're fracturing. You know, I've done it both with matrix objects and like I'll also take an end side, just a 2-point end side, and I'll clone those as well, you know? So it's really just the movement of the matrix. If you don't like that, change it up. Sure. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Carlos.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, Mograph.com does, we have classes and stuff.
The question was the transition to Unreal.
Yeah, the transition to Unreal. Sorry about that. And Jonathan Winbush has a class on the site. So, you know, in order for me to, you know, double check that everything works, I went through his entire course. And there's a lot of things with Unreal that I enjoy. There's a lot of things with Unreal. I feel like the amount of work that you have to do to get that photoreal look versus, say, Redshift or Octane. Octane, I feel like you get photoreal out of the box. There's very little you have to do. Versus in Unreal, you've got to really dial down all of those little tiny things. It could be one check mark that causes it, you know, it's the photoreal button or something like that, or a combination of them. But I did enjoy working in Unreal. When I got hired for that project, I said, I don't know Unreal very much. And they're like, oh, that's okay, we're not using it. The entire project was in Unreal. So, but luckily, what's really cool is with C4D and Unreal, there is the Cineversity plugin for it. What's great is you can save out your project, bring it in with that Cineversity project, the Cineversity plugin, and anytime you make changes in your C4D project, you can just automatically update it in Unreal. That I really like, because Unreal, a lot of people are like, should I move over to Unreal? but they don't realize Unreal is not necessarily, you're not creating stuff. You know, it's a render engine in a sense. You know, it's not something where you go in and you model stuff. Yeah, you can light it, you can texture it, you can create the cinematics, but you don't actually animate per se like you would in C4D. You animate in there, bake it out, bring it into C4D and texture and light it. So sometimes with some of the projects, you know, you'll spend a lot of time working on it, and then you'll spend more time bringing it into Unreal and texturing and lighting, just so you can get real-time rendering, when in fact you could have done it in C4D, rendered it out in the same amount of time it would have taken you to reset up your entire scene. Yeah, but that is not to say that I don't like Unreal. I am all about it. I am all about learning any sort of tool that is going to get you that extra step. And the amount of Unreal jobs there are out there is incredible. And I will say the company that I worked with, they didn't care what software you were using. We were working with Maya users. We were working with Blender users. We were working with C4D users. We had everyone because they were all going into Unreal. So it didn't matter.
Oh.
Yeah. What's up? Joe, you had a question. I didn't get to go on a cruise on the ship. No. I believe Matt Silverman went and checked it out, and yeah, it was. He said it was pretty awesome being able to see all the stuff. Those videos were his. Yeah, big shout out to Matt Silverman and the team over at Swordfish for getting me all the videos and stuff for reference.
No, Swordfish has done a lot. We showcased them a lot. A lot of great work over there.
Yeah, great work.
Awesome, everyone. Well, stay tuned. We're going to be up with our next presenter, Sarah Chalkley. So hang out if you didn't catch her yesterday. She's back for more with a twist on her presentation. So we'll see you after the break.
Bye, everybody.